Welcome to the first tutorial of the Statistics video tutorial series developed by the Department of Psychology at California State University, Long Beach. In this video, I will cover some very basic information about the statistical program known as SPSS. Primarily, I will focus on creating variables and entering data. As you can see, I already have SPSS open on my computer. However, if I did not have the program open yet, I could do so by either double-clicking the SPSS icon on the desktop, or by going through the Start menu to the Programs and selecting the most recent version of SPSS. The very first thing you should see when you open SPSS is a series of blank rows and columns. If you don't see this, try opening a new SPSS document by going to the File menu, to New, and then to Data. This will produce a new blank SPSS file. The screen you're currently on right now is called the Data View window. As you can see, there's nothing here yet, so there isn't much of interest. However, I want to point out a few things very briefly. At the top of the screen, you'll see many columns that are all named var. This is where any variables that we create will appear. On the left, you'll see a series of rows beginning with one that seemingly goes on forever. In general, each row will represent one person, but this will not always be true. As you can imagine, without any variables, there isn't much we can do, so we're going to have to create some. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you should see two different buttons. The one that is highlighted is called Data View, and by clicking it brings you to the screen that we are on now. The button to the right of it, Variable View, will bring us to a screen that allows us to create variables. So let's go ahead and click that. As you can see, the columns on our screen change from var to many different columns. At this point, not all of these columns are essential to know, so I will only cover a few of them. The first column of interest is the name column. As you probably guessed, this is where you input the name of the variable. For today's example, we're going to create two different variables. The first will be called student, and it will tell us whether or not the participant in our study is a college student or not. The second will be called age, and it will tell us the age of the participant. Let's go ahead and create our student variable. In the first row of the column name, type the word student and hit enter. As you can see, much of the rest of the row was filled out for us. Don't worry about this for now, because we'll change some of these pre-filled in values later. For now, let's continue on to the label column. The label column allows us to clarify what the variable is. For example, for the student variable, we might put in, is the participant a college student? This allows us to understand what exactly the student variable is measuring, which in this case is whether the participant is a college student or not. Now let's focus on creating our second variable, which is age. Much like the student variable, all you have to do is click on the second row of the column and type in age. After you hit enter, you'll see that many of the rows are again filled out for us. For the label column, we might put in something like the age of participant in years. This helps us distinguish between knowing that the age is represented in years as opposed to another metric like months. So, we just created our first two variables, but we're not quite finished. This is because we still have one more thing to add for the student variable. The reason is because the variable student is a categorical variable, meaning that it has a limited number of values. In our example, student will have only two values, yes or no. This differs from a continuous variable such as age, which essentially is not limited in value. In order to account for this, we must make a change to our student variable. Go to the first row and click the box underneath Values. A small box with three dots should appear on the right, and go ahead and click that. A box will come up called Value Labels, which will help in assigning values to the student variable. For example, click on the value box and put in the number 0 there, then click on the label box and type no. Adding this variable indicates that anything we type in a 0 for the student label says no, they're not a student. We can create a variable for yes, we'll give this a label of 1, and also add it to our list. Once we click OK in this menu, you'll see that the value menus change here, indicating that now 0 is no, this person is not a college student, and 1 indicates yes, they are a college student. The last thing I'm going to show you in this video is how to enter data in SPSS. Go back to the Data View window by clicking on Data View, and now you'll notice that at the top of the screen, where we had var across all columns, we now have our student and age variables represented. These two columns are where we will enter the information about the participant's student status and age respectively. For the student column, go ahead and click on the first row and click in a 0 for the first three and a 1 for the second, pressing enter after each person. Next, for the student age, click on the first column, maybe start with age 15, then add 1 each time until you hit the 6th row. Based on our data, we can see that we have 6 participants, half of which are not college students, and half of which are college students. If we go to the top of the screen and click on View, then on the Value Labels, you can see that in the student column, it switches from saying yes or no to giving us the numerical values that we entered. Again, we can switch this back by clicking on Value Labels. Now it indicates yes or no again. Now that we're finished creating variables and inputting data, we should save our work. To do this, go to the upper left-hand part of the screen and click on the disk. When you click on this, it opens a Save menu. Remember to specify a file name and location so that you can access the data at a later point in time. This is all that will be covered in this tutorial. Please select another video tutorial if you wish to know more about how to use SPSS.